ColorPart1 and you have your 10 images with the 5 color palettes selected, we're going to move on to ColorPart2. And just to remind you, this practice of pulling colors from images really allows a designer to ensure there is a reason and there's a connection between the image and the design. It helps with the harmony and the balance, and it really does allow the design to resonate on a different level. This is again that example of Casa de Musica, the logo designed by Sagmeister and Walsh, although I actually think it was just Sagmeister at that time, and it is now just Sagmeister again because Jessica Walsh, who he had partnered up with, they separated in terms of their work, their joint work design firm. Anyway, now that you've completed that, we're going to talk about the technical side of color. So the technical side of color is something you need to think about when we're also talking about the meaning and the uses of color. Because color is really one of the more challenging things we work with graphic designers, because most of the time the work we make is on a screen and there's a good bit of work that is then outputted for print, and both of these processes use different kinds of color theory. So in the first part of the color assignment, I had you list the RGB and CMYK color values, because as designers, we're always trying to match these things up. And these are things that really weren't ever meant to be matched up. So first, let's talk about additive color. So additive color theory is adding light to color to illuminate it, and this is used by multimedia designers and any designers whose work will remain on the computer, television, or any kind of screen, including movies. The primary colors are RGB, red, green, blue. So additive color works with anything that emits or radiates light. The different wavelengths of light create the different colors that we see, and the more you add, the brighter and lighter the color becomes. When using additive colors, we tend to consider the building blocks to be red, green, and blue, the primary colors. Not the primary, these are the primary colors of that, because of course yellow is a primary color. And this is the basis for all the colors you use on screen. In additive color theory, white is a combination of all colors and black is the absence of color. So here you can see the additive color wheel. The primary colors of RGB, when they overlap, you get the basis of CMYK with cyan, yellow, and magenta. All mixed together results in the white here in the center, and the absence of it would be black. So we have RGB, and then we have CMYK. Well, we don't have the K, which is black. Then subtractive color, which is one that we really think more about, really works on the basis of reflected light. Rather than pushing out more light, the way a particular pigment reflects, the different wavelengths determine its apparent color to the human eye. Subtractive colors like additive also have the 3 primary, cyan, magenta, and yellow. So just remember, in subtractive color theory, white is the absence of color, while black is the combination of color. But it's really an imperfect system, and I know it can be a little bit confusing. The pigments we have available don't fully absorb light, so we had to add that 4th compensating pigment to account for its limitation. We call this key, or for the K in CMYK, but it's essentially just black. So without this additional pigment, the closest we could get to black would be a muddy, muddy brown. So here you can see the CMY and K, which is key or black here. So with these 4 colors, we were able to make up most of the colors that we see in the real world and that we can see in print. And again, now you can see the secondary colors. It's all related. The secondary colors of CMYK are the primary colors of RGB, right? We have red, green, and blue. So CMYK, or 4-color process, is created using the primary colors of pigment, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And because the inks that are used are translucent, they can be overprinted and overlapped and combined in a wide variety of proportions to produce a pretty wide range of colors, everything we see in print. So now you can see here in the commercial printing process, an RGB image gets separated into 4 plates, the C, M, Y, and K, and then gets printed sequentially. So here's the image on a computer. Here are those plates. And so when printed correctly, and in order, you end up something close to the image. Now, color laser printers use 4-toner cartridges. Unlike commercial printing, in which the page is printed 4 times, each of the 4 inks in a laser printed is applied to the drum and then to the page. Spot colors are also known as PMS colors, or officially as Pantone matching colors, are specific color formulas that will reproduce accurately in print. Instead of simulating colors by combining the primary colors, CMYK, spot colors, PMS colors, are pre-mixed with existing and published color formulas. So Pantone is a brand of color used in universal numerical method of color communication. Here you can see some of the Pantone colors. And one thing you definitely want to know about with spot colors are things like neons and metallic inks. So there are certain colors that cannot be made with CMYK system. You can't do a metallic, and you certainly can't do a neon. So if you see a print job that uses a metallic, that's a separate ink. Here you can see the mixing of a Pantone ink. They have specific ratios and specific recipes for them, very similar to how if you went to go get paint mixed for you at the Home Depot or at Lowe's. It's a very similar system. But now this isn't interesting because here are two Pantone swatches with two colors of pink. And you see that they are labeled with pretty much the same numbers, but the one on the left is C and the one on the right is CP. And what this means that the left is the actual Pantone color itself. So that would be if you use Pantone ink itself. But if you go ahead and use the CMYK, you're going to get the colors on the right because, again, we can't mix CMYK to actually get, the reason we can see this is on the screen. So if you were going to be doing this commercial printing and not using a spot color, that pink would actually be what's on the right. To achieve that nice hot, bright pink, you would have to use a spot color from Pantone. So to recap, as this is on screen, it's RGB, red, green, blue, and the three colors that create every other color. These are the three colors that create every other color visible on the screen. Now, while each monitor is capable of displaying a wide range of colors, there are still inconsistencies between computers as not all screens are accurately calibrated. So my advice when you're printing is to print often and test it out and then prepare a test sample of the colors that you want to be printed. You bring all this to your printer to be matched, and when you find a printer that you like, you are very nice to them and you stay friends with them because a good printer is hard to find. Now, color gamut is a way of describing the full range of potential colors a system can reproduce. It may surprise you to learn that the range of colors achievable in CMYK is different, or maybe not, because you probably experienced it. You maybe printed something up and you're like, wow, that does not look anything like I thought it would look like. Because it's very different than what you can achieve with RGB, what we're seeing on the screen. And this is partially because of the nature of the two different systems, but also in the real world at least, as a consequence of the limitations of our technology. So here, I couldn't find a better image of this. This was the best I could find. But this does demonstrate the different color gamuts, or the different regions of which we can see. So we have the visible color gamut. That's the big circle. Then we have the RGB. That's the yellow line. So you can see that's the next biggest one. Then we have the Pantone, those specially mixed. So you can see it's similar but not quite the same as it's smaller, obviously, than RGB, but bigger than just the CMYK. So the smallest is the CMYK. Most people are not aware of this and wouldn't even notice it, but it is a reality when it comes to printing. So once you finish your ColorPart 1, you're going to jump to ColorPart 2. And this is kind of the first time you're going to really stretch your design chops that we're developing here. You're going to take your 3 favorite colors from all those 10 that you labeled, the RGB and CMYK values. So you're going to pick your top 3 of those. And then I want you to research your colors and learn more about the specific hues. So you will have to identify what type of color it is. And from that, I want you to list 25 associated words. I also want you to create a unique, and the emphasis is on unique name. If it's a pink color, don't just call it pink. So really try to strive for something unique. Think about names of nail polishes or names of those color chips that you get, like I said, at Home Depot or Lowe's, or even names of lipsticks and things like that. Then design a layout. So you're designing. You're thinking about how you can organize in an interesting layout using what we've already learned. You've already gone through a lot of experimentations with point lines and planes and creating compositions that convey meaning. You added emotion to that. So think about those. Think about balance, think about rhythm, think about focal point, think about possibly tension if that is going to associate with your color. So you're going to design a layout showcasing the color's name as well as the words you associate with this meaning. And then you're also going to, in that research, you're going to include an area where you cover the worldly and cultural associations. So you're going to have to do some more research and really learn those worldly and cultural associations with your color. Let's look at some examples. Here we have a super fun one that uses repetition and diagonals to create movement for this color that they just named pop. And so you have the name, here are those words, and then here's the cultural associations. Here we have a very different feeling. This one's got a lot of movement. This one's very buttoned up because it's called corporate blue. And again, you've got your 25 words in the back, and then you also have your cultural association here. Here's a super fun one, a little harder to read, but I love it. I love this sour and then this pop of color being used and employed in the background. So here we have the words right here, and then here we have the cultural associations. There's a more simple one, Mocha Nut, but it's such a cute name, Mocha Nutshell. You got your very organized. So I'm showing you a wide range of options, and you're going to do what you can do to the best of your ability. So here's another one that's really, really playful and fun with these awesome use of exclamation points between their 25 words in the background. And then you got the swoosh of the name coming through, and then your cultural significance over here. You are supposed to also include the RGB CMYK, which is right here. Another one, similar colors, but a very different feel. And you know what I love most about this? If you'd had a class with me before, you probably would know what I was going to say right here. I love that period, making it definitive. Gumdrop. So fun. Again, another feel, another use of movement, playful. So hopefully this is inspirational for you. I want you to have fun with this, to really, again, stretch your design abilities, really test yourself and see what you can create. And as always, reach out as needed. This is, before I end, I want to point this one out. It's really fun and playful that they wanted it to be rosé punch. So they wanted it to be a little bit, they wanted it specifically in black. The student, I remember working with them on this because they didn't want it to be super, super sweet. And if we put this in white, or if she had put this in white, it would have had a very different feel. So really think about how you can play, how you can really leverage the concepts that you've been really closely examining, and really have fun with color too. And as always, should you need any clarification or have any questions, please reach out. Refer back to the assignment as well for the specific parameters.